Brian Van, sportbiketrackgear.com, and today we're going to install a set of Vortex rear sets on our 2015 Team M4 Exhaust sportbiketrackgear.com Suzuki GXR600 project bike giveaway. Vortex is one of the biggest names in bolt-on performance parts. We've already installed several Vortex items on this motorcycle. Their rear sets provide some of the best design, function, and value out there today. Of course, all made in the US. Great packaging. They come with good, solid instructions. Great seller for us. I've used them quite a bit. Phenomenal product. Completely recommend it. Installing them on the GSX-R600, right? Pretty simple. You follow the instructions that are laid out here. They tell you where they want things lubricated. They tell you where they want some Loctite used. Everything's included, a nice exploded diagram. It's a pretty simple procedure. If you want to retain the functionality of the brake light, you will need to install one of their brake light pressure switch banjos, which would go right here. That is something that we will do, but we will have another video focusing solely on that, as I think that that deserves to have its own segment. So to begin with this project, the first things that we need to do are remove the stock rear sets from the motorcycle. I want to begin by breaking loose the brake clevis. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and just simply remove the master cylinder, right? The rear master right here. It's going to be a 4mm Allen. There is Loctite on that from the factory. So don't panic when that's coming out kind of hard. And as that starts to come off the threads, you'll see that it becomes increasingly easier to remove the fastener. Okay, the master cylinder is removed. Once again, save all your stock fasteners, all your stock parts. You never know what might happen that would cause you to need these again down the road. Now we're going to have the main mounting points here to the motorcycle. Larger Allen, 6mm, and these are going to be significantly tighter. Once again, Loctite will have been used, so they will come out a little harder. Okay, rear set. It's now loose from the motorcycle. We're able to turn it so we can access the cotter pin here on the back of our brake lever. Most oftentimes you can reuse this cotter pin. They're pretty soft. Just pull it right through like so. Save this off to the side. Our washer here. And bring the pin through. Now the only thing that we have that's still attaching this to our Suzuki is going to be that rear brake switch. Okay, this is something we're going to deal with down the road. Okay, we're not going to handle this today. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to, basically just get it out of the way and kind of tie it up in there for now. That's just for our purposes here today. I'll go ahead and get the spring out. Like so. just threading this out. We'll use a cable tie to kind of tie this out of the way. Most of your aftermarket rear sets are not going to have any real provision, right, for this mechanical style brake light switch. So this is pretty common from model to model. What I'm going to do is literally get in here, just use a cable tie and tie it up for now behind the frame. When we come back, we're going to begin assembling our Vortex rear set. Okay, now we're going to assemble that folding toe piece. I got the mount tight right in the position where I wanted it. They want a little lube on the pin. All right, just got a little silicone here. You don't really need a ton, just basically just a film of it. I'm going to be very upfront with you. This is tricky, okay? It's going to take some patience, but it's worth it because they allow you the ability to adjust the fitment, right, of that pedal so you can choose the length. Go ahead and get that slid through there, okay? And to give you an idea what we're dealing with, you can see how the spring, right, is definitely going to put a little pressure on this. You want to make sure that you're coming from the top down, okay, with your pin. I'm going to begin by sliding it through the actual toe piece. Now you can see how we're askew here, okay? So I got to be able to put some pressure on the spring in a strategic direction, okay? I like to fold the toe piece just a little bit and then get in here and use this, and you can hear it going past the spring right now. Right? Put a little pressure on it, and look at that. I made that look really easy. It doesn't always go that way, so be prepared, be patient, spring loaded, very nice. Now we have our little snap ring hiding out over here. Okay, and you're going to want to make sure you get it in this groove here. So make sure this is seated well. Do you have to have snap ring pliers? Negative. You don't have to have them. Is it nice to have them? Yes. But I will show you how to do it minus snap ring pliers. I'm going to go ahead and hold that very carefully, right? And put a little pressure on it with the screwdriver. We can get it to jump over and then down into that lip. Once again, the easiest way to do this is snap ring pliers. Do I have them? Sure I do. They're over in my toolbox. But I'm counting on the fact that many of you may not. The key to this operation is making sure you have a hold of that snap ring so you don't lose it. I've already had a couple instances there where easily, if I wasn't holding onto it, this thing would have just flung off of there. And I'd have my cameraman Tyler on his hands and knees, crawling around my shop to find it. Okay, there you go. Patience, once again. Now, once you have your snap ring in place, what I would recommend, right, is you want to rotate it around a little bit. And if you can turn a snap ring like that, you can see that you've got it in place in that groove, and that usually helps seat them just the last little bit, okay? Okay, we're rotating that around. We are good to go. Our brake pedal is ready to rock. Next up, we're going to go ahead and assemble the mounting plate here. It doesn't call for any thread locker. These are really heavy bolts that come from the factory. There is still some blue on here. You could put Loctite if you choose to do so. At the end of the day, I don't think that's really going to be a big deal. So we're just going to roll like this. Okay, bolts are started. I'm going to run these bad boys down. Get those with a reasonable amount of torque. Next up is going to be our foot peg installation here. Foot pegs are slotted, like so. Once again, big heavy gauge fastener. Okay. We're gonna ride this bike both on the street and the racetrack. So I'm not gonna go with a real crazy position, right, for the rear set. I don't think I need them all the way up and all the way back. So I'm gonna kind of try and use, I think, the center hole, right, the center row, and I'm gonna go one from the top on the upper hole. We'll use the Vortex provided fasteners for this. Definitely don't want to Loctite this, right? If you are choosing to use Loctite with your project, you don't want to Loctite this because we're going to move this stuff around, okay? You're going to want to get in there and really dial these things in and make sure you're happy with the position. So if you do the Loctite right now, it's just going to make that project more difficult down the road. So, you know, perhaps once you've landed on a good position for your riding style, then you could pull the fasteners, put Loctite, and reassemble. Okay, now we are getting down to the point where it's time to assemble the brake pedal, right, and get the master cylinder bolted up. Got new bolts right here. We've got our brake lever here. Got our pin washer, and then of course the cotter pin. I'm going to begin by putting just a little bit of lube on this pin, really nothing crazy, just a little bit. Slide this in place, push it through. This allows us to rotate this out now because we don't have the brake pedal installed on the rear set, so we're able to rotate this out. Makes the installation here much simpler. Go ahead and do this, and got our side cutters over here. And there it comes. That's one of the downfalls of reusing the cotter pin. It's a little distorted from the initial install, so it doesn't just slide through the hole perfectly. But once again, I don't really have any reservations about reusing it. They're pretty soft, and they can typically withstand at least one reuse, oftentimes even more than that. So we'll get that locked in place like so. The other side bent around here a little bit. And then we'll be ready to bolt this to our rear set. Okay, into position, like so. Now, looking at the instructions, there is a supplied washer that they want to go in between the brake lever and the pivot pin, which is right here, okay? Lubricate this. Actually pretty important, this is lubricated. Grease, silicone lube, I think either one is going to be sufficient in this case. All right. Pass that through. Let's get our washer here on the back side, per the instructions. Come over here. Once again, this is an area where if you're using Loctite, you could absolutely do that. I really, at the end of the day, don't find it to be all that necessary. We are going to need to grab a bigger Allen to tighten that up now. Okay, we've got a proper Allen here. Run this bad boy down. Look how freely that moves. Remember, we've got bearings in there, okay? High quality bearings from Vortex, so the motion is very smooth. Now we've got our master cylinder mounting bolts. if you've chosen to use Loctite, okay, this is another great place to do that. Run both of those down. These will accept adequate torque. Pretty good sized fasteners. Like so, and I like how those are recessed in there too, like this right here, very, very clean. Just gonna go over everything and ensure that we've got acceptable torque levels. Nothing is binding. The brake clevis is loose. The reason for that is we are going to adjust the brake lever before we ride this motorcycle. When we come back, we'll have the motorcycle turned around and we're going to begin working on the shift side of the bike. All right, here we go. Now we are on the shift side. End of the day, this is usually a little bit less involved than the brake side. You get to deal with the master and everything over there in the clevis. I'm going to open up here by loosening the jam nut here for this shift rod on this side. Okay, just loosen it up is all I need to do. And I'm going to prove that I do actually have those alleged snap ring pliers. We're going to use them this time. This particular kit is going to give the rider the option to choose from standard or GP shift, and they clearly outline on the instructions how to pull that off if you want to go reverse shift. Okay, now we are going to take this off by rotating it like so. And then when we're done with this, we'll remove the footrest. That's the easy part, and that is really simple. Okay, grab the T-handle over here. Plenty of Loctite on these from the factory without a question. Go ahead and get this bad boy off. And then we're going to do my favorite part, and that's assemble that folding toe piece. All right, we're going to reuse those factory bolts. Now let's go ahead and let's get ready to put this together. Okay, at the end of the day, this should all go together pretty well. Shouldn't be too difficult here. We're going to reuse the same washer, the same snap ring. I'm even going to take the actual jam nut that is on this heim joint. I'm just going to transfer it right over. Just like on the brake side, we're going to have to adjust the shifter, just like the brake. Try and get that in about the same spot it was on the OE heim. Okay, now let's get our little folding toe piece ready to rock here. Once again, full length is what I want to run. So just basically a standard mount. All right, I'm going to put it right there. We are going to use some Loctite. Got it over here. I got to grab an Allen out of the box here. Got that in there. Now we need a little bit of this lube right here. And we'll be ready to assemble that toe piece. with the toe piece, right, you want to make sure that you get this moving, right, or folding in the right direction. You want to make it the same as the other side. Even though this lever is forward like this, this is the direction you want this to fold in, not this way. Okay, so we want to make sure we mount it like so. Got to take the spring and slide it in here like this. Okay, get this lined up. And what actually retains the spring as we go through the process is that pin. So first thing we're going to do is get the pin started through the folding toe piece itself. Okay, once we've done that, I'm going to come over here like so. I need to slide back over here and grab an Allen wrench. I use this to help me put some pressure on the spring. All right, and I've also found that manipulating the toe piece a little bit, kind of pushing it back, helps to get this whole process started. And I got to put some downward pressure here on that. And there you have it. Got our toe piece folding in the right direction. Now we need to take and install that little snap ring. You got to make sure this thing is seated all the way. I gotta tell you, I don't know if the snap ring pliers I have here are small enough. I think we're gonna have to use my little screwdriver method all over again. That's over here in the box. So from the looks of this, even if you do have a set of snap ring pliers as I do, you may not have a pair small enough, because I don't. Once again, hold it down, like so. Rotate it around. Make sure that you've got it compressed. Test it. We're going to add just a little bit. They've got a pretty good amount of lube on this here. Go ahead and just juice that up a little bit. Most of it gets captured right in that groove there. Okay. And you can see that they've even provided adjustment here. If you want to move this around, right, from the factory, you can move this back, you can move this down. So there is some good adjustment built into these rear sets right from Jump Street. Not the same level that you're going to enjoy with these Vortex, but at the end of the day, there is a fair amount of adjustment built. Now, I need to get this threaded in there. There we go. I want to have about as much exposed thread on this heim joint as I do on the heim joint here at the top. That's going to allow for proper adjustment. I'd say that's the spot right there. Looks pretty darn good. Ready to slide this on. Remember, that has the bearings in it as well, which is an upgrade from the factory set. The factory set only offered just the, not sure we're going to be able to use that washer. The factory kit just uses a brass bushing, so realistically we've got ourselves a nice little upgrade here with the Vortex kit. Let's see if that groove is going to allow us to reuse that washer. Yep. Once again, with the snap ring, you can rotate it around. That really lets you know that it's on there. Okay? Odds are we're going to have to adjust the shifter. Now we need to bolt up our mounting plate to the motorcycle, like so. Okay, grab that 6mm T-handle. These bolts will accept a good amount of torque. Like so. Now we need to assemble our foot peg on the actual footrest, and then we'll make sure to place it in the same position we did on the other side. Okay, now remember we're in the center row of bolts. I chose to go one down from the top. There you go. What's left to do? We've got to adjust our shifter, right? It's in standard shift right now. If I want to go GP shift, I need to rotate around that shift knuckle, and that will allow us to utilize GP shift, right? And remember, you have down here 3 factory points on the Suzuki to choose from. So we've got a lot of possible adjustment. Moving the footrest, I can move it back, up, down. Adjust this, right? We're able to adjust the toe piece. If I feel like that's too close for me and I want it over here, then what I need to do is disassemble it, flip it, right? The knuckle right here, flip that, and then mount it up, and that'll give me some more length there. So there's a lot of options, a lot of choices. Once you get to this point, get your riding boots on. The boots or the shoes that you would normally ride in, and you wear those while you dial this thing in. And try and dial it in first, right on the stands, on the work table, and get it really close. And do your fine tuning as you ride the motorcycle. For example, you might need to take a couple wrenches with you on your first ride if you're a street rider. If you go to the racetrack, go out, do a session or two, do a few laps, whatever, come in and just fine tune it and really dial in those ergonomics to best suit you. That's the real advantage with having rear sets. Another huge advantage, crash protection. These foot pegs can really help to save parts on the motorcycle in the event of a crash or even a tip over, right? I know that some of the I've had at the racetrack, they've been of great benefit. So that is another fringe benefit that you pick up when you install a set of rear sets like this from Vortex. I'm Brian Van. This is our 2015 Team M4 Exhaust, sportbiketrackgear.com, Suzuki GXR600 Project Bike Giveaway.